Actually, these fluoride compounds actually will penetrate the skin. They're very toxic.
Well, I mean, just studying nerve gases that the military developed, most of them are fluoride based. So I don't understand how they're putting it in our water.
Well, that was kind of, it's bad science, it's whatever you want to call it, but there's no epidemiological studies where you've had a fluoridated community on these specific industrial waste products where they've looked for possible health effects. But 3 years ago at the Harvard Medical School, 4 researchers published a paper in a journal on cancer in which they compared they found higher levels of bone cancer, osteosarcoma, a rare type of cancer, in boys 7 to 8 years of age in a fluoridated community compared to a non-fluoride drinking community. So they found that there was elevated rates of osteosarcoma, and the study has some limitations because they looked at a small group of people. But
there's a whole bunch of studies around the world.
Yes, we know that fluoride is extremely toxic, and there's definitely concerns that it is a human cancer-causing.
Well, have you heard the new thing? They're now saying mercury's good for you because it's coming out that it's in half the corn syrup. That's Washington Post. It's coming out that it's in many products. So the new spin is that mercury's actually good for you. I'm not kidding. Guys, go to YouTube and Google news says mercury good for you. I'm going to play that off Local News Austin because I don't want the doc to think I'm making this up. You're going to see Fred Cantu tell you that mercury's good for you here in just a moment. But please continue.
Well, anyway, so there's actually many studies. 3 years ago, the National Research Council had a panel of 13 scientists who are experts in toxicology, epidemiology, fluoride, and chemistry, and they did a 3-year review of over 1,100 studies worldwide about the dangers of fluoride in drinking water. They didn't look specifically at fluoridation, the adding of fluoride to the drinking water. They looked at the whole issue of fluoride toxicology. And they basically determined that the EPA's maximum contaminant level of 4 parts per million is not protective of human health, and that it should be set much lower. But EPA hasn't done anything, and so the city of Austin's position is that as long as their fluoride level that they add to the water is less than this 4 parts per million level, they think it's safe. But
the British, the Russian, the Chinese studies I've seen show that it's cumulative, so that's a fraud.
Right. And also they don't take into account that there's other fluorides. There's fluoride in the food, beverages that are made with fluoridated water. There's quite a bit of it in tea. People brush their teeth with fluoride-containing toothpaste, mouthwashes. There's some pharmaceuticals that some people take that have fluoride in it. There's
Prozac.
There's fluorinated pesticides, so there could be some on the fruit.
Yeah, it's killing. And now they want to spray it. In fact, I saw that a few years ago, that a lot of the new pesticides are fluoride-based. It kills the bugs, and we sit there and eat it like fools.
Yeah, because actually what we know, so there's a lot of fluoride exposure from different sources, and so the city of Austin doesn't take into account this wide exposure that's...
Well, we know the lobbyists come in and pay them off. I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, they'll arrest you if you get caught dumping motor oil on the street, and you should be, but I'd much rather have motor oil going around than fluoride that's killing everything. I mean, fish can't live in tap water. Why are we drinking it? I mean, Doc, again, I'm no doctor, but why does a goldfish die in a matter of hours? Everybody should try this, and I don't think it's nice to be cruel to fish, but if it saves human lives, do it. In the 6th grade, you cut up frogs. I think the schools, if it's so good, ought to fill up a fish tank with fluoridated water right out of the tap there in the science lab, put a fish in it and watch it be deader than a hammer the next day, right next to clean water, say out of a river with a fish in it. I think that, something simple like that, will finally get the message across. But the animal rights activists will say, don't kill goldfish. And whereas I don't enjoy killing goldfish, I've got one at my house that's 7 years old named Fluffy we're very attached to. If it'll save human lives, how are we going to then not hurt goldfish because it's cruel, but make everybody drink this?
Well, what the National Research Council report came out with in 2006 is that the level of fluoride being added to the water is 250 times higher than what is in breast milk. And breast milk, we know mother's milk, it's got a trace level of natural fluoride.
Because you need a trace amount.
Need a small amount.
Don't humans even need a trace amount of cyanide? But you don't want a lot of it.
Right, but the whole thing is that there's a very, very low level. And so what they're adding to the water is much higher, to 250 times higher than what is considered really safe. And actually, some of the researchers said that with babies, there is really no safe level of what's in the water.
Well, that was my next point, Doc. When I go to Babies R Us, it's all give your kids fluoride pills, buy the fluoridated water for your baby. And all the studies I've seen say it's 3 to 4 times worse for kids' brains and bones than it is for adults. So is that what you're getting at? Is it's really bad for kids?
Yes. What we know, and this was first recognized in the 1950s by researchers who were studying enzymes. And all of our cells in our body run partially on enzymes. They're part of the assembly lines that keep everything going. And fluoride poisons at least 62 enzyme systems in the human body.
Unbelievable. 62. So it's an endocrine disruptor.
Yes, and so some of the early opposition in the 1950s to fluoridation were the biochemists researching enzymes because they knew that fluoride was a powerful poison that interfered with enzymes in the body.
Oh, and as soon as that research came out, put it in the water. The Rockefellers just so happened to be eugenicists. But I'm sure, Doc, there's nothing to do with that. We should just trust them and drink it.
Well, it is interesting that one of the fluoride compounds used in the manufacture of uranium is uranium hexafluoride. It's a catalyst. And so that was one of the ways that this kind of links back to the Manhattan Project. Uranium hexafluoride, it's got 6 fluorine atoms in it. It's been well known, but it's also very toxic. So in using this in the Manhattan Project, along with using other fluoride catalysts in the aluminum industry to smelt aluminum and to various kinds of aluminum products in the steel industry.
Got to break there. Just stay there, Doc. This is riveting stuff. Very important. Drink your uranium.